All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about a common topic that comes up in the beginning of your chemistry class, and that is naming chemical compounds. Um, it's a little tricky because there's a lot to know. It's kind of like learning an entire new language. And it all starts with getting familiar with the periodic table, which I have a video about. But I want to start now diving into chemical compounds. And I will be making a video soon about the difference between an ionic and a covalent compound. Just like a quick note on that, an ionic compound, let's just pretend this is the periodic table. You've kind of got that middle section. Those are all metals. Then you got this like staircase of things. All of this is metals. You know what? Everything on the left. And then everything on the right here is a non-metal. And when you have a metal and a non-metal together, they form like an electrically charged bond. So a really, really good example is sodium and chloride, which makes your standard table salt. When they come together, they like share electrons, and sodium metals always form a positive ion, and non-metals form a negative ion. But how do we name it? Well, here's the rules. It always ends in "ide." Okay? Always ends in "ide," and the first word is just the element itself. Element only. Okay? Now, let's give an example. So I'm going to clear this out. Like I said, so I'm going to rewrite the rules. So ends in "ide." And another thing is first word is the element. So let's do that first one I was talking about, sodium and chlorine. All right, this one is sodium, and this one is chlorine. Now the first word is sodium, so it stays as is. And the second word ends in "ide. So we just take that chlorine and call it chloride. Simple enough, right? Let's do another one here. What if it was magnesium with chlorine? Now, we'll get more into this in the ion video, but magnesium has a +2 charge, and chlorine has a -1 charge because of how many electrons it wants to give to make it a stable element, or a stable ion, I should say. Well, first word is magnesium. Second word, you guessed it, is chloride. Okay, but if I really want to talk about the writing the element, the compound as well. So let me just quickly, I'll write what it is and then I'll talk about why. Okay, the number down below, that's how many of each element. So in another example right over here, like SF6, that's a covalent one, which we'll get to. That's 6 fluorines. Okay. Well, why do we need 2? I'm going to do this in red. Oops. Okay. Why do we need 2 chlorines? Well, we want the charge to equal 0? Well, I have a +2 and a -1. I need 2 -1s, so I multiply that by 2. That just means I have 2 chlorines. Let's do one more of these. Let's get a periodic table up real quick. Pardon my wait here. What can we do? Let's do potassium sulfide, okay? Potassium sulfide. Potassium is the letter K, and sulfur is just the letter S. Potassium always has a +1 charge, and sulfur has a -2 charge. You guessed it, they need to equal 0. So how many +1s do I need to add to a -2 to equal 0? You are a genius, I know. We need 2 +1s. But the number doesn't go up top. Remember, it goes down below. That's the number of, that's 2 potassiums. Okay? And now I just need 1 sulfur. And always remember the rules. First word is just the element. Potassium. And this is sulfur. So it's going to end in "ide." Yep, sulfide. Potassium sulfide. So there's more we can get into with those, but I ask you to send in questions and I'll answer them as they come. But obviously ionic compounds can get more complex. Let's do one more where there's like potassium and the other, this is the positive ion. The negative one is going to be SO4. This is called a polyatomic ion because there's more than one atom, right? Polyatomic. And it's got a -2 charge. And that one's called sulfate. Okay, that's just what it's called in regular chemistry. You're going to get a chart of these. In AP chemistry, you're more than likely going to have to memorize them. When it is a polyatomic ion, it doesn't end in "ide" anymore. So it's just the words as they come. So this would just be potassium sulfate. But how many potassiums do I need? If it's a +1 going with a -2, wow. Just keep getting it right. There's 2 +1s that go with a -2 that equals 0. So it's a K2, and you could write it as SO4 in parentheses, but you don't need them. You only need parentheses if there's like a number outside, if I needed more than one sulfate. But I don't, so that's okay. Now, covalent compounds are a little different. They have all these prefixes and suffixes that hopefully you've heard of. Well, I'll just start. What is this shape? It's got 5 sides. There's one in Washington, D.C. filled with a bunch of military people. Yes, it's a pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sides. Hexagon, right? Gon just means like shape, sided shape. So covalent compounds work that way. It's 2 non-metals. And I'm not going to spend too much time on these because you can kind of go down the rabbit hole of there's a million of them, and a lot of them are like organic compounds. A lot of them have carbon and either hydrogen or oxygen. Let's do something that is in your fizzy drinks, CO2. Okay, these are not ionics. There's no plus and minus here. Okay, they're just together sharing electrons. So you've probably heard of what's in a soda, hopefully maybe not, but that's just the first word, carbon, because there's only one of them. And how many oxygens are there? There's two. So there's dioxide. So ending in "ide" again. What if there were C2O4? Dicarbon, exactly. Dicarbon. What's 4? Well, there's a game called Tetris that I love. It's a bunch of shapes that are made up of either that are made up of 4 squares. There's like the L-shaped one that's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the square. There's the one you got to save to the end. There's the 4, one in a line. That's it. The game's called Tetris. So hopefully that reminds you of the name of this. It's a tetraoxide. Tetraoxide. Dicarbon tetraoxide. There's also those smoke detectors you have in your hallway. That's searching for CO. Starts with carbon because there's just one of them. Second word, you guessed it, monoxide, always ending in "ide." And for the last one, let's change up our elements. Sulfur is a non-metal. Sulfur is a gas. It smells like rotten eggs. Fluorine, fluoride is what they put in toothpaste, and there's some in our tap water to keep our teeth healthy. A lot of times, sulfur and fluorine will be in the arrangement SF6. Again, this is not plus and minus, no ions here. They're sharing electrons. So, first word, sulfur. Second word, there's 6 fluorines. Remember a 6-sided shape? Of course. Hexagon. So sulfur hexafluoride. All right. There's a million other compounds. Like chemistry is literally the study of atomic compounds. But that's just a quick video about naming ionic and covalent compounds. And I hope that helps. And I look forward to your questions in the future.